Did Okay, Kid by Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins tells the story of his childhood, how it led to his fascination in theater and his career in theater, which ultimately led to his amazing, legendary career in Hollywood. I've always thought that Anthony Hopkins was an amazing actor. I mean, when you can play C.S. Lewis one year and Dr. Hannibal Lecter the next year, you know you've got quite a range as an actor. That's what's cool about watching him on the screen, because he's convincing both as the main character good guy and the bad guy of a story. I can think of a lot of examples on both sides of hero and villain that Anthony Hopkins has played very well. So he grew up in this post-war time in Wales, and he didn't have a particularly encouraging childhood in a lot of ways. His head was bigger than usual, and he kind of got made fun of for that. And generally he was just kind of awkward. One person described him as inept, and he says in the book, he looked it up in the dictionary, and he said he just absorbed that role of being having the reputation of being the inept, awkward person, and he said he used it to his advantage, because then he could always come in and surprise people, which is an amazing reaction to being picked on, I think. Anyway, he got an encyclopedia when he was a young man, and he just started memorizing it and impressing people with all the facts that he could recite. When he went off to school, he saw a movie version of Hamlet with Laurence Olivier playing the role of Hamlet and reciting these Shakespearean lines. And here's what he says about that in the book. I had never experienced an impact like that. It was explosive. I could not yet understand the structure of Hamlet and its nuance, its archaic words, new and unfamiliar language, the rhythm, the phrasing, but I felt Olivier as Hamlet was speaking to me, referring to some long-vanished ancient part of myself. It was an unearthly experience. I love that imagery, a long-vanished ancient part of myself. Speaking of his love for theater, like rising up out of somewhere. Poetry actually is a theme of the book. He loves the sound of words, and I think one reason why I enjoy watching him so much is it's obvious in his performance that he loves the sound of the words that he's saying, the drama that implies. You really feel that come through the screen. In fact, he loves poetry so much that the last almost hour of this audiobook is Anthony Hopkins reading some of his favorite poetry. So we started doing little parts in the theater, and I mentioned he liked memorizing the encyclopedia. Well, this came into play when he was memorizing scripts, because he would just memorize the whole thing. He'd memorize everyone's parts, and so it was easy for him to just jump up and start rehearsing, because he had the lines in his head already. He wasn't immediately comfortable on the stage, but it just came to him over a period of many years. He actually worked on a play with Laurence Olivier, and Olivier was like his mentor, and Olivier gave him a piece of advice that he always remembered. He told Anthony Hopkins, when you're speaking, you're the star of the show. There's a lot of name dropping in this book, which is it's just amazing, the cool experience he had with famous, well-known people. Laurence Olivier, Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, John Wayne, just to name a few. So he was in the world of doing the theater, and then he transitioned to films, because he realized films are less work than theater, because once you nail the part, you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. Of course, a big turning point for him was his role in Silence of the Lambs, where he got his first Academy Award. He talks about how he thought about that role too, which is a fascinating chapter in this book. He was scared by a spider once when he was a kid, because he walked into a kitchen at night and he turned on the lights, and there was this spider. And so he used that because he thought of Dr. Lecter as this spider that is remote but attentive, like still but like watching, from the darkness. And he had to keep reminding himself, and as he's doing this role, is don't play a monster, because that's what makes Lecter interesting. He's respectful to Clarice, even though he's done these terrible, terrible things. It was also his idea to be standing at attention when Clarice walks down the hallway and comes to him at their first meeting. And he said he wanted to be standing there watching because Dr. Lecter would be able to smell her coming. Also, that famous hissing, slurping noise that he does when he says he ate the one guy's liver with fava beans, he got that from Bela Lugosi's Dracula, apparently. So, fun fact. A big theme of this book is alcoholism. He struggles with it his whole life because he goes through these bouts of depression, and alcoholism is his way to cope with that. From his Welsh upbringing, he kind of has this mentality of I'm tough, I'm in control, I can do anything, I'm not going to talk about feelings to anyone. So he kind of has this hardened shell around him. He talks about his second wife as a crucial element for helping him break through that shell and be more engaged with the world. On that point, I think the very writing of this book was a therapeutic exercise for him. And he kind of hints at that with the title, We Did Okay, Kid, because that's him thinking of where he is now, looking back to the sad, kind of lost, child, young adult that he was, because I think he wants to go back and reassure his old self, like, we did all right, like everything worked out in the end. That really is the overall message of the book too. Just embrace life, embrace whatever happens. There's lots of great things out there, and don't close yourself off to that. In fact, there's a point where he talks about where just recently he was doing a lecture thing to young actors to field questions about his life, about acting, and he said he cried, which was really out of character for him. He was just touched by the situation. That's the one reason why this book really worked for me, because you see the character arc in Anthony Hopkins telling his life story. He's a very different person at the end than he was at the beginning, and you can see the process as he changes. A side note, I don't think many people notice this who are listening to the audiobook, but the opening tune they're playing as they're reading the title is something that Anthony Hopkins composed himself. He did this cool little waltz that I've always admired. I discovered it like 10 years ago, but it's a catchy little tune. I'll put a link in the description so you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to give this book 4 stars.